age early, and then I think 9 a.m.
The Norcross has reportedly been.
Best, but I can give it to you all the time. You gotta put it like a Cadillac, but I can send you into overdrive. Oh. Been waiting for that. Hold up, swing your back. See anybody could be bad to you. You need a good, gotta blow your mind. Bang, bang into the room. I know you want it. Bang, bang all over you. I let you have it. Wait a minute, let me take you back. Wait a minute till you bang, bang, there goes your heart.
Teamed up with Sweeney and Norcross. Whatever Christie's wanted has happened. It's a powerful coalition in the legislature. The Republicans always fall in line behind Christie, and the Norcross and Sweeney faction have a significant Democratic voting bloc, but maybe not anymore, and that's why this is such a crucial test and really a defining moment for Christie's term.
So what's stopping them, Matt?
Vincent Prieto and some North Jersey Democrats. Prieto is the Speaker of the State Assembly, and he is simply refusing to put this takeover bill up for a vote, even though it probably would pass if he did. Prieto's from Hudson County. He's tight with Jersey City Mayor Steve Fulop, and Sweeney, the South Jersey leader, will likely face off against Fulop next year in the Democratic primary for the governor's seat. So Christie is alleging that Prieto and Fulop are just fighting Sweeney on this as a sort of proxy war before next year's gubernatorial race. Christie says Prieto and Fulop just want to curry favor with the unions. Fulop, meanwhile, denies he's ever even talked to Prieto about the takeover, and he says the governor is just obsessed with him.
It's messy politics. What's going to happen next?
Prieto could post a compromised version of the takeover bill as soon as Thursday, but Prieto and Christie met one-on-one yesterday and came to no resolution. Christie could also float a loan to Atlantic City to avoid bankruptcy, which would affect, not just residents in Atlantic City, but be catastrophic for municipal bond rating statewide. But a loan seems really unlikely at this point, and Christie has really made Atlantic City a centerpiece of his economic recovery plan statewide, so the idea of a bankruptcy would really threaten his legacy as governor. It's a huge game of chicken, and by the way, I bet you can't name, Jamie, the last city in New Jersey that went bankrupt.
You're right. I have no idea.
Fort Lee in 1938.
You're kidding. So if this is a power struggle, who's going to win it, Matt Katz?
Well, I'm not a betting man, but I'll just repeat how Mayor Guardian ended his interview on WNYC this morning with Brian Lair. He said, "Pray for me."
Wow. Okay, well, I guess we'll leave it there. Matt Katz covers Governor Chris Christie for WNYC. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Jamie.
One of the most valuable industries in Los Angeles is struggling. We're not talking about what's at the box office or what's getting the most hits on TMZ today. We're talking about oil. Black gold, Texas tea. LA still has a number of oil fields. In fact, more than a third of the oil that Californians use comes from California. And with extremely low oil prices, there's a big effect on the region's economy. NPR's Sonari Clinton reports.
Okay, we're here. Los Angeles is a world center for transportation, fashion, manufacturing, and above all, entertainment. In the heart of this metropolis, one of the most important industries is hidden in plain sight. Just like this oil field I'm standing in, which is just a few hundred yards from NPR's Culver City studios and a few miles from downtown Los Angeles.
When you think about Los Angeles, you tend to think of big skyscrapers and beaches, and you don't generally tend to think of oil wells.
Lars Perner is with the Marshall School of Business at USC. I took him for a drive to explore some of LA's oil fields.
We're looking at an oil field very close to downtown Los Angeles near Baldwin Hills. And this is fairly valuable real estate with some rather expensive homes close by, and this oil is clearly very valuable to justify using that space for those oil pumps.
Now, as iconic as the Hollywood sign is or the movie studios are, the oil wells, they came first. They date way back to the mid-1880s.
Back in those days, there weren't really a lot of regulations as to how you could drill, so a lot of people got very entrepreneurial, and they were trying to get pumps onto their property before the neighbors could.
In fact, local history buffs will tell you LA's oil rush is the thing that put Los Angeles on the map. Part of what made LA's oil so attractive, Kerner says, was that the oil was close to the surface, easy to extract. Add the newfangled automobile, incredible weather, a port, and that's a recipe for exponential expansion.
Well, the petroleum industry, of course, made it possible to have Hollywood where you needed to spread out. It also made it possible to build an infrastructure to help transport in agricultural produce from other areas so you could support the growth of a relatively large city very quickly.
Los Angeles was a sleepy pueblo that became LA and Hollywood, and the studios all popped up, and people got wealthy because of oil.
David Slater is the chief operating officer for Signal Hill Petroleum.
And we are standing in the middle of the Long Beach Signal Hill oil field on top of the hill in the city of Signal Hill.
It's difficult to overstate just how much oil was being produced right here in LA back in the 20s.
The production from here made Los Angeles the equivalent of Saudi Arabia today. That's how prolific and how much oil relative to the rest of the world was coming out of Los Angeles Basin.
Today, the Signal Hill oil field is still one of the largest producers in the U.S., but the steep drop in oil prices has had a big impact on smaller oil companies like Signal Hill. Again, David Slater.
And the painful part, though, is when prices go down, contracting our business and eliminating jobs is never, ever a fun thing to go through.
You have about 150 employees. How is that affecting you?
We don't have 150 employees anymore. We now have about 85 employees.
Slater said he'd love to hire them back, but he won't be able to until oil prices go up. You see, here in Southern California, cheap gas can be costly. Sonari Glenton, NPR News, Culver City.
Hey, boo-boos. It's Phoebe Robinson.
And I'm Jessica Williams.
We're the hosts of WNYC Studios' newest podcast, Two Dope Queens. And we get real. Well, we can't say how real we get, for all we don't even have a kid in the room.
Yeah, we don't want to make it weird and upset anyone. But you really should listen to our weekly podcast. We've got New York's best stand-up and storytellers, too. Come on over to Two Dope Queens wherever you get your podcasts, or listen on the WNYC app.
WNYC receives support from GEICO, offering car insurance as well as services for homeowners and renters insurance through the GEICO Insurance Agency. Additional information can be found at geico.com or 1-800-947-AUTO. Fully Committed on Broadway, starring Modern Family's Jesse Tyler Ferguson playing 40 roles. Avenue Q's Jason Moore directs this comedy about the bad behavior good food can inspire. Now in previews. More at fullybroadway.com.
Dort bleib ich auf der Brücke stehen und schau ins Tal hinaus.
You're listening to All Things Considered on WNYC. I'm Jamie Floyd, and that is singer Uta Lemper, known for her interpretations of the songs of Edith Piaf, Marlene Dietrich, and Kurt Weill. The song you just heard is less well known. It is one of more than 17,000 songs and scores that are part of Blast Music, a project designed to archive the music written by prisoners of Nazi concentration camps during World War II. Lemper will be performing several of those songs tomorrow night at the Center for Jewish History, and Uta Lemper joins me now. Welcome to WNYC.
Hello, good day.
So tell me more about the Blast Music project. How did it come about?
It is an incredible project that breaks my heart, but it has utmost necessity to be shown and to be performed. Especially for me as a German-born, it is most complicated identity to live with and to deal with, and it's been my pleasure to have the mission for years already, for 30 years, to have first of all presented the project Degenerate Music, the music that was banned by the Nazis. This was a big recording project by Universal that started 30 years ago, and I was the protagonist of it with all the Kurt Weill recordings and Eisler and Spoliansky, Tucholsky and Hollander. And now to perform and interpret the songs that are written in the concentration camps and ghettos, it's the other side of the coin, those who did not make it out of Germany.
You mentioned that this has been a 30-year project and a labor of love for you. How did you first get involved in this?
On the 27th of January last year, it was the day of liberation of Auschwitz. We had a big commemoration of the Holocaust in Rome, and I was asked to perform a first selection of these songs. Francesco Lotoro, an Italian musicologist, had collected for years and years songs that were written in the concentration camps. And I also carried with myself a book that was given to me 10 years ago by my friend Orly Bagel from Israel. It was a book that collected songs from the ghettos. She said, one day, Utele, one day you have to perform this music for me. Her mother was a Holocaust survivor. And now 10 years later, I picked up this book again in context with the commemoration of the Holocaust last year. And I saw these unbelievable songs, most of them in Yiddish. So I put a program together that combined the songs of the ghettos and some of the most intriguing songs of the concentration camps that Francesco gave me. And this is the concert that you will see.
One of the songs you performed from last music is Wandering Through Theresienstadt. Let's take a listen to a piece of that.
Theresienstadt, das Herz so schwer wie Blei, bis je mein Weg ein Ende hat, bis je mein Weg ein Ende hat, dort knapp.
Tell us more about this song.
This song is written by Ilse Weber. She was born 1903 outside of Poland, and she moved to Prague later on. She became a poet, a writer. Her books were published. She was married. She had children. By 1938, it was too late. She was put into the ghetto and brought then to Theresienstadt in 1941. She became a nurse, took care of the sick children in the hospital, and put the poetry that she had written into music at night. These were cradle songs. These were songs for consolation of the children. And everyone was brought in 1944 to Auschwitz. All the children, her own family, and everyone died in the gas chambers. But the songs stayed as word of mouth in the universe, in the ghettos, in the camps, and especially also in Auschwitz. Her husband survived and later on was able to write down this music, and he brought it later on to Israel, so finally it was published in the 90s.
Where would some of the other songs have been performed?
Well, these were songs that were partly sung on the market squares when the Jewish people were uniting, not knowing about their destiny. Songs that were sung in the labor camps to make the work easier, almost like gospels in the cotton fields, right? One terrible song is portraying the murder of the children in the ghettos and telling the stories how the mothers had to smuggle their children out and leave them, abandon them forever with non-Jewish families.
What is the future of this collection and your connection with it, with these songs?
Well, I do hope and I do think this music needs to be performed everywhere, and especially in Germany, I feel. And I think that the Germans are quite open to listen to this and internalize it and confront this horrible memory. I think there's a great necessity to perform this material and this concert.
And you can hear Ute Lemper perform these songs tomorrow night at the Center for Jewish History. Ute Lemper, singer and actress, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Die Luft ist kühl und weich wie eine Frauenhand. Süße Melodie klingt aus der fernsten Ferne.
The infamous Thomas Winston Mosley has died in prison at the age of 81. He was convicted in the 1964 murder of Kitty Genovese. The crime left a deep impression on the psyche of New York City. It was also pivotal in transforming the nation's emergency response system. Back in 2014, WNYC's Maithili Rao joined Kevin Cook, who wrote a book about the crime, for a walk through the streets of Kew Gardens, Queens, where Genovese was murdered. We revisit their tour now.
28-year-old Kitty Genovese had been dead for 2 weeks when the New York Times published a shocking account of her killing in the spring of 1964. 37 who saw murder didn't call the police, the Times headline read. Here's how Kevin Cook describes it in his book.
A gritty urban setting, craven bystanders, a defenseless young woman. On one hand, the crime stirred something primal, the terror of being alone in the dark when a predator strikes. At the same time, Kitty's story seemed as modern as the vivid hues on a color TV. In urban America in the 60s, you might have 1,000 neighbors, only to die alone while they stood by their windows watching.
The story of how Genovese was violently attacked while dozens of neighbors did nothing to help was quickly picked up by newspapers around the country and across the world.
I think nationally it's pictured as a Hell's Kitchen scene. People on their fire escapes looking down at the spectacle of this stabbing that plays out over half an hour.
Cook's book is called Kitty Genovese, The Murder, the Bystanders, the Crime That Changed America. He says the newspaper story painted a misleading portrait of the crime.
Not only did it not play out over half an hour, but it's this leafy little bedroom community. People didn't lock their doors.